Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। I will share this. Just a second. So we can start with reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai again. Welcome everyone for this morning Srimad Bhagavatam session. And we may begin from here. Not only did Bhaktivinoda Thakur document Navadvipa's past glory, but he also foresaw its glorious future. When a religion based on the teaching of Lord Chaitanya would emerge and spread throughout the world, and when European and American Vaishnavas would throng to Navadvip to join their Bengali brothers in chanting Jai Sachinandana, the time would come. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, when in the land of Navadvip, on the plain of the Ganges, a magnificent temple would arise, proclaiming to the world the glories of Lord Chaitanya. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, the son of Sachi. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, carrying out the desires of his father and preceptor, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, had formed the Gaudiya Math for propagating the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and the glories of Navadvip Dham. He had induced a wealthy disciple to spend his fortune for erecting a temple at Lord Chaitanya's birth site in Mayapur, and he had constructed a Kirtan hall commemorating the place of Lord Chaitanya's Kirtans. He had also constructed his own residence in Mayapur. He had built temples throughout India, 64 in all. But because he wanted the English speaking world especially to take to Lord Chaitanya's movement, he had emphasized as first priority the publishing and distributing of Krishna conscious literature. Srila Prabhupada, sitting in his room in the Calcutta temple, shared a great vision of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yet, to enact this great vision, he had to take practical steps, and he was content to take them in the most humble way. A devotee should not simply daydream, expecting Krishna to accomplish everything with miracles. Prabhupada, however, was not dreaming idly. Working for years alone in India, he had held his plan of going to the West, and Krishna had at last fulfilled that desire. In America, in whatever circumstances and with whatever small facility Krishna had provided, he had preached. And slowly, step by step, he had met with success, realizing his vision of a worldwide society of devotees. Always he had kept his greater vision in mind, as every step forward had given him deeper satisfaction and had brought him closer to fulfilling his mission. Prabhupada sometimes told the story of a poor potter who dreamed of expanding his business and becoming fabulously rich. As the potter slept one night, he dreamed of how much land and how many houses he would have, and of how he would have a beautiful wife. When the potter considered that perhaps the wife would quarrel with him, he became angry and said, "If my wife fights with me, I'll kick her." And kicking, he broke the only two pots in his stock and was reduced to nothing. Whether chanting or writing or reading or preaching, Prabhupada had been absorbed in his plans for spreading Krishna consciousness and fulfilling the dream of the past acharyas. Now he was anxious to complete the next step, and for this he was waiting up past midnight, meditating on his two disciples and their important mission. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. What wonderful excerpt these are. Okay, so our reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam is from chapter oh Krishna. From chapter 17, verse number 24, canto 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनं हृदयन्तस्तो हि अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी. So our verse today is 5:17-24. Yannirmitam karhi api karma parvanim mayam janoyam gunasargamohitah na vedanishtarana yogam manjasa tasmai namaste vilayodayatmane यन्निर्मितां करहि अपि कर्मपर्वणिं मायां जनोऽयं गुणसर्गमोहितः न वेद निष्टारणयोगमग्न अञ्जसा तस्मै नमस्ते विलयोदयात्मने यन्निर्मितां करहि अपि कर्मपर्वणिं मायां जनोऽयं गुणसर्गमोहिता न वेद निस्तारण योगं मञ्जसा तस्मै नमस्ते विलयोदयात्मने. Are there volunteers who would want to recite this verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am trying.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Janirmitang karhapi karma parvaning mayang janhoyang gunasargamohita navedo nistarana jogo manjasha tasmei namaste bilaya udayo atmane. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam, Mataji.
Yang nirmitam karhyati karma parvani mayam jano ayam gunya sargamohita na vedanistarana yogam anjasa tasmai namaste vilyo dayatmane. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanva Pranam. I will also try.
Pranam, yes, Prabhu.
Yannirmittam kari api karma parvanim mayam jano yama ayam guna sargamohita nareda nistaram yoga jasa tasmai namaste vilaya dayatmane. Thank you Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we can
Hare
move.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No. Go ahead, Mataji, please.
Okay. Yanirmatam katyapi karma pavanim mayam yanoyam gunasaga mahitaha na veda nistarana yogam anyasa tasmai namaste vilayodaya tamane. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so we can move now to synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Yat, by whom, nirmitam, created, karhi api, at any time, karma parvanim, which ties the knots of fruitive activity, mayam, the illusory energy, janaha, a person, ayam, this, guna sarga mohitaha, bewildered by the three modes of material nature. Na, not. Veda, knows. Nistarana, yogam, the process of getting out of material entanglement. Anjasa, soon. Tasmai, unto him, the Supreme. Namaha, respectful obeisances, they, unto you. Vilaya Udaya Atmane, in whom everything is annihilated and from whom everything is again manifested. Anyone who would be wanting to read the translation?
May I?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead binds all of us conditioned souls to this material world. Therefore, without being favored by Him, persons like us cannot understand how to get out of that illusory energy. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that Lord, who is the cause of creation and annihilation. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Anyone to go with Purport? Okay. So Krishna clearly states in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam taranti te. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. All conditioned souls working within the illusory energy of the Lord consider the body to be the self, and thus they continuously wander throughout the universe, taking birth in different species of life and creating more and more problems. Sometimes they become disgusted with the problems and seek out a process by which they can get out of this entanglement. Unfortunately, such so called research workers are unaware of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His illusory energy, and thus all of them work only in darkness, never finding a way out. So called scientists and advanced research scholars are ludicrously trying to find the cause of life. They take no notice of the fact that life is already being produced. What will be their credit if they find out the chemical composition of life? All their chemicals are nothing but different transformations of the five elements earth, water, fire, air, ether, and ether. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:20, the living entity is never created. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin. There are five gross material elements and three minor elements mind, intelligence, and ego. And there are eternal living entities. The living entity desires a certain type of body, and by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that body is created from material nature, which is nothing but a kind of machine handled by the Supreme Lord. The Lord gives the living entity a particular type of mechanical body, and the living entity must work with it according to the law of fruitive activities. Fruitive activities are described in this verse Karma Parvanim Mayam. The living entity is seated on a machine, the body, and according to the order of the Supreme Lord, he operates the machine. This is the secret of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. The living entity thus becomes entangled in fruitive activities and in this material world, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:7. Manah shastrani nindriyani prakriti sthani karshati. The living entity is struggling very hard against the six senses, which include the mind. In all the activities of creation and annihilation, the living entity is entangled in fruitive activities which are executed by the illusory energy Maya. He is exactly like a computer handled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The so called scientists say that nature acts independently, but they cannot explain what nature is. Nature is nothing but a machine operated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one understands the operator, his of life are solved, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bahunam janmanam ante gnanvan mam prapadyate vasudevah sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. A sane man, therefore, surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus gets out of the clutches of the illusory energy, Maya. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the fifth canto, 17th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Descent of the River Ganges. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वीरकृष्णदास गोस्वामीनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So thank you again to everyone for joining us for this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam session. We are reading from 5:17:24. I will read the translation and then stop sharing the screen. The illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead binds all of us conditioned souls to this material world. Therefore, without being favored by Him, persons like us cannot understand how to get out of that illusory energy. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who is the cause of creation and annihilation. So, this section is taken from the prayers. These prayers are Lord's expansions, and to show the mercy to his devotees, these 9 verses, in each of these 9 verses, the Supreme Lord Narayana expands himself in various forms, and he remains near his devotees, to accept their service in some forms, so in deity forms. So in this section, we are talking about Ilavrita Varsha, and the key inhabitants of this Varsha is Lord Shiva, and the presiding deity is Sankarshana. In the next chapters from 5:18, from verses 1 to 6, there'll be the ruler, or the Varsha is Bhadrashva Varsha. The key inhabitants are Bhadrashava, and the presiding deity is Hayashirsha or Hayagriva. We'll be learning further. And similarly, from 17 to 14, Hari Varsha, Prahlad is the key inhabitant, and the presiding deity is Narsimha. Then 15 to 23 is Ketumala. Key inhabitants are Lakshmi, Prajapati, Samvatsara, and his children. And the presiding deity here is Pradyumna and or Kamadev. From 24 to 28 is Ramyaka, uh, Varsha. Vaivashvata Manu is the key inhabitants of this place, and the presiding deity is Matsya. Following from this Hiranmaya, Aryama, and the presiding deity is Kurma. In the Varsha Kuru, the key inhabitants Earth, and Varahadev is the presiding deity. Kim Purusha Varsha, Hanuman is the key inhabitant, and presiding deity is Rama. And in Bharata Varsha, Narada Muni is the key inhabitant, and Naranarayan is the presiding deity. So this is given to us in Bhagavad Subodhini by His Grace Gauranga Darshana Prabhu. From here, we'll come back to the verse where the verse is the prayers to Lord Sankarshan by Shiva in Ilavrata Varsha, where so in Ilavrata Varsha, only male person is Lord Shiva. Goddess Durga does not like any man to enter the land. If a foolish man dares to enter, she immediately turns him into a woman. And this curse is effective only in the places between Kailash and Karavira mountains in Ilavrata Varsha. So in the southern direction of Sumeru. The mountains Kailash is the abode of Lord Shiva as indicated in the verse here. Lord Shiva is always encircled by 10 billion maidservants of Goddess Durga. Shiva, knowing that Sankarshan is the original cause of his own existence, worships him. The spiritual form in charge of ignorance, tamasi, in the following mantras. So he pays obeisances to Lord Sankarshan, who is the supreme person, Mahapurushaya, the reservoir of all transcendental qualities, Sarvaguna Shankyayana, the unlimited and the unfathomable. So verses 18 and 19 talks about the worshipable Lord, whose lotus feet protects devotees from all danger, who is the highest shelter of all six opulences, who manifests his different forms in the satisfaction of his devotees, and who stops the repetition of birth and death, and is the origin of material creation. And the Lord is unaffected. Although the Lord glances over the material world, he is not affected by it, even to the slightest degree. But we cannot control the force of our anger. Therefore, whoever is desiring to conquer the Lord senses, who desiring to conquer the senses will not worship the Lord. Who will not worship the Lord? The point here is won't. How is it possible that an intoxicated person who cannot control the senses will be able to worship the Lord? The Lord is unagitated in verses 21, and he's unlimited. But for persons with impure vision, the Lord's eyes appear intoxicated, angry, and fearful. The Lord is unlimited. The Lord is the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction, though he actually has nothing to do with any of these. Therefore, he is called unlimited. As Shesha, he holds all the universes on his hoods, but each universe appears no heavier than a mustard seed to him. The greatest Lord, the supreme Lord, Lord Brahma, I, Shiva, the demigods, five elements and senses. Therefore, I worship him under whose control we are all situated like birds bound by a rope. Only by his grace can we create this universe. And this verse talks about the bewildered by the modes of material nature, man cannot understand Maya, who ties the knot of karma. Without being favored by him, one cannot get out of that Maya. I offer respect to the Lord, who is the cause of creation and annihilation. So the Lord here is that we are glorifying, or Lord Shiva is glorifying the Lord, who is the destroyer of Maya for the devotee and the creator of Maya for the non-devotee. So in these verses, we understand the glories, or we know again the glories of the Lord. This verse actually is touching. Let's slow things down and see how this verse is actually touching something very basic, something we often assume, but we hardly understand that. And this is very, I mean, we hardly examine it. So Srila Prabhupada begins this purport with in a very strong way. He says that people are ludicrously trying to find the cause of life, while completely missing that life already exists. He's using the word ludicrous. This is not an insult. It's not an insult, but it's more like a gentle disbelief uh, where this point can be interpreted as, and he's mentioning about the scientists, he's mentioning about the he's saying here that it's the so-called scientists and advanced research scholars. So they are intelligent people. So how can we be so intelligent and yet miss something which is so obvious? Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that life is already there. Life is already here. It's observing. It is questioning, it's desiring, and no amount of chemical combinations or chemical analysis has ever produced that spark. So life is not made, it arrives. Prabhupada points out something very simple. Scientists can analyze, break down the chemicals, rearrange them, but all those chemicals are already coming from the five elements, which is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. None of these elements are alive. So what happens here? We can mix them in a lab for 1,000 millions of years, but unless life enters in that, nothing moves, nothing wants, nothing cares, nothing desires. So Srila Prabhupada mentions again here from Bhagavad Gita verse 220, Na jayate mriyaten va kadachin. The soul is never created. So if the soul is never created, how can life be manufactured? How can it be manufactured? So life doesn't, this clearly tells that life doesn't emerge from matter. Life enters matter. And intuitively, we all know this. We all know this deep down. Therefore, when someone dies, we even though the body is still there, we may say they are gone or he's gone, they are gone. So something has left. Another point here of where Srila Prabhupada mentions here is body is a machine, and I am not machine. The body is machine. Not we are not machines, but our bodies are machines. Prabhupada, now Srila Prabhupada gives one of the most important analogies in most of the Vedic philosophies. He says body is a machine. Machine is where we are sitting in. And in this machine, our body is breathing, digesting, aging, reacting to different things. But I am the one who's noticing all of it. I did not design this machine. I did not choose every feature of this machine, but I'm responsible for how it is used. So the key point here is the living entity desires a certain type of body, and by the order of the Supreme Lord, we are sanctioned. Material nature supplies it. So there are three players. The living entity desires, material nature builds, and the Supreme Lord sanctions it. Nothing is random, nothing is accidental, um, as told by the scientists. So if we understand this alone can bring so much peace. If we accept it, there will be no controversies. So then in that case, why life feels like a trouble? If Krishna is given us this body, why does it feel like a trouble? Prabhupada says that living entity becomes entangled in fruitive activities due to his desires. So our desires are we act to enjoy, we also act to control, and we act to feel secure. Therefore, we keep possessing things and adding into our karmas. Um, in Bhagavad Gita 15:17, here again it explains that shastrani manaha shasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. So whatever what the living entity here is struggling very hard with the mind and the senses. And is it not true? If we actually apply it, if we actually see the implications of what's happening to us, the body wants one thing, mind wants another, and the heart wants something else. So there's always this misalignment that's happening. And therefore, because of this misalignment, there is we are exhausted. Not because life is cruel, it's because we are asking the machine to give us what only consciousness can experience. We want love, which only consciousness can experience. There is no love that exists purely in this material world. Until unless our consciousness gets pure, we'll understand what pure love means for Krishna. So when we identify, or for example, we're looking for happiness, bliss, the absence of sadness is what we call happiness. But what is true bliss? So when we identify ourselves as machine, we are exhausted. Everything feels heavy. And and we keep asking, and we keep getting disgusted and disappointed. And in that disgusting, disappointing results of life, we become, we feel heavy. Everything feels heavy. Therefore, we don't experience peace. So when we remember, this verse is a reminder that when we remember we are the user of the machine, things start to loosen. So therefore, the first lesson, I am not the body, is given. The first instruction, um, that I am not the body, is given to Arjuna by Krishna. Krishna doesn't start speaking about himself directly. He just starts talking about. He gives us the user manual of how to actually understand ourselves. So if we remember that we are the user of this machine, things start to loosen up. So again, then we often see that nature is the boss. We understand that material nature create is the boss, and whatever you want, what I am the boss. Or so Prabhupada makes this very bold statement here. He says nature does not act independently. And the scientists don't like it because they want the nature to be the final authority. So Prabhupada asks such a reasonable question here: what is nature? So nature is a system. Nature implies a system that uses intelligence a machine that implies a designer. Who's a designer? So just like a computer doesn't decide its purpose. It follows the instruction. So similarly, material nature follows higher instructions. So when we understand that there's an operator behind the system, it is not just the system itself. Life starts to feel less chaotic. So the point here is to understand the operator. Who's the operator? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:19 that after many, many lifetimes, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gnanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Durlabha Sudurlabha. After many, many births, many lifetimes, a person in real knowledge uh, surrenders, understanding that Vasudev is everything. This surrender doesn't mean that, oh, I am defeated. This surrender is not weakness. It is intelligence. It is sanity. And it is the moment, it is that moment when we surrender, we stop fighting reality and start cooperating with it. What we are doing at the moment is fighting reality and not cooperating with it. We stop demanding that the body gives eternal happiness. Um, Therefore, we are not, if the body gives eternal happiness, understanding we would be just busy, and we are busy in the four activities of every living entity. So when we stop demanding that the body gives eternal happiness, we stop demanding, and we also stop demanding that the world behaves according to our fears. Often our mind creates it, and we stop blaming the nature for what is actually misalignment, because our mind, body, and heart is not aligned in understanding. However, spiritual practices help. The first step of any spiritual practice is to help align the mind, body, and heart. So if we bring this down to our daily life, when something goes wrong, uh, when something goes wrong in the body or mind, we can pause and remember, and instead of identifying ourselves with the body, we can say that the body or this machine is responding to um, the fruitive activities or responding to karma that we've collected. And before chasing a desire, we may also ask gently, is this desire actually bringing me nearer to Krishna, or bringing me closer to material world, or freeing me from material world? So is this desire binding me, bringing me closer to material world, or bringing me closer to Krishna? So, and this doesn't mean that we don't do our responsibilities fully. We surely, Srila Prabhupada in this hasn't said anything that, so in all activities of creation and annihilation, the living entity is entangled in fruitive activities which are executed by the illusory energy. He's exactly like a computer handled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The machine is operated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and when one understands the operator, his problems of lives are solved. Srila Prabhupada is not saying to actually cut these situations, and because there is no other way. We have to have our responsibilities. No one is telling us to not fulfill our responsibilities. We do our responsibilities fully, but releasing that illusion that we are the ultimate controller. We are not the controller at all. The controller is someone else. The controller is Krishna. when we offer our actions, even ordinary actions, with remembrance to Krishna, these actions which are binding us can also liberate us. So the point here is a deep self-reflection that comes from this verse is the Lord gives the living entity a particular type of mechanical body, and the living entity must work with it according to the law of fruitive activities. And these laws are the laws which binds us and which can also liberate us. So if these actions are offered to Krishna, when we offer our actions to Krishna, even ordinary actions, by remembering Krishna, always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Krishna, and understanding the purpose behind our activities, then the same body that is binding us can also liberate us. So today's purport gives us very simple message that science studies the machine, philosophy studies the self, bhakti so bhakti yoga actually introduces us to the operator, connects us to the operator of the machine. So when we stop asking matter to explain life, we start asking how to align the truth, how to align with the ultimate truth. And then clarity naturally comes in this path. This clarity doesn't make us passive. It definitely makes us peaceful. And understanding from this, the sane man, therefore, Srila Prabhupada mentions, the sane man, therefore, surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus gets out of the clutches of the illusory energy Maya. So surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can we surrender? When we are so much attached by the fruitive activities, it's very, very difficult to surrender. Surrendering is a process. It is not an instant, it's not an instant, aspect of saying that I surrender and we surrender. So we generally, when we understand that I'm not the body and I'm the user of the body, when the sense of control is lost, even deep down internally, when do we actually surrender to situations? We surrender to material situations as well when there is no control, when we think that our control boundaries are over. We cannot control beyond this. So we surrender when we identify what are we practicing. When we identify that I'm not the body, but I'm the user of the body. When we identify our desires, when we identify the consciousness, when we identify our responsibilities, is it with the false ego or without false ego? And when we do our karma, because material energy will bind us to do our karma this way or that way. Krishna mentions that when sarva dharman parityaja, when we do anything, mam ekam sharanam vraja, when we surrender and do anything, now anything here means which are karmas, or which are anything here would mean our actions dedicated to Krishna. So Krishna will take care of those without any doubt. So we don't have to worry about it. So by releasing the illusion of control over the results, this is surrendering. So here we have been oriented. the orientation is given, like how material orientation can be passed, or how what a pathway to from material orientation to devotional orientation is made here in this verse. So in this, even small acts that's offered to Krishna shifts karma yoga to bhakti yoga, and then the same machine becomes the liberation, becomes the vehicle for liberation from the three modes of material nature. Not the liberation of the soul, but the liberation from karmas. So knowledge actually matures humility, and humility matures surrender, and surrender releases us from the clutches of Maya. So when we stop asking matter to explain life, life begins to make sense. Thank you for listening. I would like to stop here. Is there any, if there is any comments or anything, please feel free to add.
Hare Krishna Mataji, very
Hare
nice
Krishna,
class
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
about the 3 stages, especially. We are struggling with this, isn't it?
So true.
Yeah. Well, nicely discussed about the what's the illusory energy and what's the scientists tell about that. Yeah, they are always, searching, break down, analyzing, rearranging the elements. But it's, yeah, already element is there.
Yes.
That's why Srila Prabhupada told, that
Yeah.
everything exists and soul is never created. And yes, life enter in matter. Sometimes, people say, those who are the karmi, that the हम मीन्स हम क्या बोलते हैं कि हम खाने के लिए जी रहे हैं, जीने के लिए खाने नहीं खा रहे हैं.
Yeah.
बहुत लोग बोलते हैं ऐसे ना. That's, I am remembering this one. Yes, body is machine, not atma. So that just remembering also car and driver, how body and machine works. And
Yeah.
yes, we always forget to align, especially in that those who are old people. They think I can work, I can walk, I can go. But when they start the work and walk, they fell off because they don't know how their body is. They are already old, 80, 82. I have seen in my life, my experience, my mother-in-law. Yeah, they used to tell, oh, I can work, I can go there. I can, whenever they used to go, they follow. So that all your, the words I was connecting with them. Yes, so true. And yeah, our Srila Prabhupada has given so nice, nice community and the books to clear all these things. And also mm, we are gradually we are knowing. And yes, surrender process is also not quick. We have to go to gradually, and we have to know how to connect with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not instant result. Instant, those who want the instant result, they used to go to the demigods. That's why. And yeah, nature does not act independently. That the means the Supreme Lord is the controller, and he is like a system. Like a nice example you have given, like a computer. We all feed them, it works.
Prabhupada gave this
And
example in the purpose.
that by when we yes, yes, we are repeating and we are also remembering.
Yeah.
And when we identify ourselves that we are not body, and this all, whatever I am eating, and it's healthy food makes good, and unhealthy food makes tasty, but karma binds, disease comes. So when we know about that, then we surrender gradually. Sometimes people people do their way 100 times. I am doing, I will do, but still they did not get the 100% result. Then they surrender. So this especially this verse is telling about that, how we have to surrender, how our karma to add into the bhakti. Then we can liberate it from the three gunas.
Yeah.
And yes, knowledge, this is the last one. You speak very nicely. Knowledge matures the humility. Humility gives the surrender. And when we surrender, then we can go out from the clutches of Maya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful summary. It's beautifully, very interesting point. Again and again, Srila Prabhupada is saying this, that everything is present. It's just that we haven't attained the maturity in our knowledge. Therefore, accepting will hurt the ego. Therefore, there is no humility. Yeah, it's such a wonderful verse, isn't it?
Yes, that's why we are struggling. Monosasthani Indriyani.
So true.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so if there's no more comments, we can.
Yes, Mataji, we can finish.
Okay.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha sindhuvaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Radha Padma Mataji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of the day.